All stories are dramatized recreations. Named locations are fictionalized. Any resemblance to real persons is coincidental.
Hi, I'm Emma, a 36-year-old accountant from Pennsylvania. Sharing this is hard, but I need to process how my husband Daniel's affair with a female coworker during a business trip shattered our 10-year marriage. It began when I found a receipt for 2 champagne glasses in his suitcase, from a hotel in Chicago he'd sworn was a solo trip. The scent of jasmine perfume lingered on his collar, a fragrance I'd never worn. My hands shook holding that slip of paper, 98 for a celebration I wasn't part of. I'd packed his suitcase myself, tucking in extra socks because he always forgot. Now, those socks felt like lies folded in cotton. Rain tapped our Philadelphia row house windows as I stood frozen in our bedroom, realizing every late meeting and client dinner was a knife carving up our life. The man who taught our daughter to ride a bike had been teaching someone else how to unravel me. The rain still streaked the windows when Daniel came home, his keys clattering on the entryway table like dropped coins. I stood holding that crumpled receipt, my knuckles white against the 98 charge. Chicago was productive? My voice surprised me, steady, cold as ledger columns. He froze mid-shrug, tie half undone. That pause, that microscopic fracture in time told me everything. He didn't deny it, just said her name, Lydia from sales, with this weary sigh, like I'd forced him to carry stones. It didn't mean anything, The jasmine on his collar suddenly choked the room. I counted breaths, in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, the way I reconcile quarterly reports when numbers won't balance. Except this deficit had teeth. Later, in our daughter's doorway, I watched her sleep curled around that unicorn he'd won at a carnival. How many business trips were lies? Moonlight caught her eyelashes, dewy as grass at dawn. My throat locked. She'd asked why Daddy missed her recital last month. Important grown-up stuff, I'd whispered. The memory scalded me now. Work became my raft. At the office, I drowned in spreadsheets, depreciation schedules, tax amortizations, letting the logic of numbers numb the ache. But Tuesday, reviewing travel expenses, I found Daniel's reimbursement request for that Chicago trip. Client dinners, $422. My pen tip snapped. Our receipt burned in my wallet like a grenade pin. My supervisor frowned at my sudden stillness. Emma, the Petrova account? I smoothed my blouse. Just reconciling discrepancies. The lie tasted like his perfume. I started walking after dinner, through Philly's cobblestone alleys, past brick row houses with glowing windows. Each one a diorama of ordinary happiness. A man grilling burgers, kids chasing fireflies, a couple debating over hydrangeas. Our porch used to smell like rosemary. Now, just silence and unanswered texts. One night, crossing Rittenhouse Square, an old busker played La Vie en Rose. I dropped a 5 in his case. He winked. Whatever's heavy, darlin', set it down a while. For the first time in weeks, I cried. Not sobs, quiet tears that cooled in the river wind. Daniel moved to the guest room. We spoke in clipped civilities. Pass the salt, Sophia needs new cleats. Polite as strangers sharing an elevator, but laundry day undid me. Sorting socks, I found hers, a lace thong tangled in his jeans. Not jasmine, vanilla. My knees hit the tile. How many? The question split like rotten wood. That's when I noticed Sophia watching from the hall, chewing her braid, eyes wide. I stuffed the lace in my pocket, forced a smile. Lost a button, sweetheart. The lie left rust in my mouth. Later, burning receipts in the sink, his boarding passes, her coffee-stained note. Last night was magic. I realized fire cleans differently than forgiveness. Ashes floated like gray snow. I opened the window. Let the wind carry them toward the Schuylkill River. Downstairs, Daniel laughed at some TV show, a sound that once warmed me. Now it just echoed. I began staying late at the office. Not for work, but to sit alone in the parking garage, eating takeout from food trucks. The hum of ventilation fans, the flickering fluorescents, it felt safer than home. One Thursday, Mrs. Petrova called. Your audit saved us $16K, Dushka, her voice crackled. You see what others miss. I gripped the phone. If only. That night I dreamed of sinking in dark water, Daniel and Lydia floated above me, sipping champagne from those hotel glasses. I woke gasping, but didn't reach for him. Just walked to Sophia's room, kissed her forehead. Her sleepy murmur, "Love you, Mommy," was an anchor. Dawn painted the sky peach gold over Boathouse Row. For the first time, I imagined a life beyond wreckage. Not healing, not yet, but breathing, just breathing. The silence between Daniel and me curdled like forgotten milk. Thick, sour, unavoidable. That morning, as I scraped burnt toast over the sink, he lingered in the kitchen doorway, the scent of his cedar aftershave clashing with the charred wheat. "We should talk about Sophia's birthday," he began, fingers drumming the frame. "The trampoline park, her asthma flared last time," I interrupted, watching butter melt into craters on the ruined bread. The knife trembled in my hand, not from anger, but from the exhaustion of holding tectonic plates of betrayal beneath a veneer of normalcy. Dr. Ahmed said, in closed spaces with dust, "He's 6, Emma. He doesn't know everything." His sigh ruffled the grocery list pinned under a magnet shaped like the Liberty Bell. My magnet, bought on a school trip where Sophia's small hand had tugged mine toward the cracked symbol of freedom. "She," I corrected, turning to face him. Sunlight caught the silver in his stubble, the same light that once made me trace his jawline with my thumb. Now it only highlighted the weariness in his eyes, the fatigue of a man splitting himself between worlds. "Dr. Ahmed is a woman. You'd know if you'd gone to the appointment." The words hung like cobwebs, sticky with implication. At the office, I buried myself in the Petrova audit columns of numbers stretching like railroad tracks toward oblivion. But concentration frayed when my cursor hovered over Daniel's flagged travel expenses, 422 for client dinners now cross-referenced with Lydia's reimbursement form submitted the same day. Item: room service, the Drake Hotel. 11,000 for 7 p.m. My wedding ring snagged on a paperclip as I reached for my coffee. The band felt suddenly loose, a noose that had lost its bite. During lunch, I walked to Rittenhouse Square again, past the bronze lion statues guarding the park entrance, their manes matted with pigeon droppings. On a bench strewn with cherry blossoms, I found Sophia's hair clip, a butterfly-shaped thing she'd worn to the zoo weeks ago. Its plastic wing was cracked, antennae bent. I pocketed it, the edges digging into my palm like a dull blade. Nearby, a couple argued in hushed tones over a stroller. The woman's knuckles whitened on the handlebar, the man's laugh too sharp, too loud. We used to be that, I thought, before the fractures became canyons. That evening, Daniel's phone buzzed on the coffee table while he bathed Sophia. The screen lit up lid before going dark. I didn't touch it, just watched the ghost glow fade, like a ship sinking in a black sea. Later, sorting mail, I discovered a folded flyer for couples therapy tucked behind a water bill, his handwriting circling a number. The paper smelled faintly of vanilla. I pressed it to my lips, inhaling the betrayal, then tore it into confetti-sized pieces. They fluttered into the trash can like wounded moths. Sophia's nightmares began that week. She'd pad into my room at 3 a.m., whispering about monsters under the porch. I'd rock her, humming lullabies while Daniel's snores rumbled down the hall. Her hair, damp with sweat, clung to my neck as she murmured, "Why does Daddy sleep in the blue room?" The question was as scalpel-precise, surgical. "Grown-ups sometimes need space," I lied, tasting pennies on my tongue. Downstairs, the grandfather clock chimed 4 times, each note a hammer on cold iron. Friday brought rain fat drops that smeared the city into a watercolor of grays. At work, Mrs. Petrova cornered me by the copy machine, her perfume a cloud of gardenias and nicotine. "You found the discrepancy in their inventory logs," she rasped, tapping a manicured nail on my report. "Clever girl, ghost assets," her gaze sharpened. "You see emptiness where others see fullness." The machine whirred, spitting out warm pages that curled like dead leaves. I thought of Daniel's side of the closet, half empty now, though his body still filled the guest room. Driving home, I took the long route along the Schuylkill. Reflected in the rearview mirror, the art museum steps bled into the wet asphalt, Rocky's Triumph reduced to a smudge. At a red light, my fingers brushed the cracked butterfly clip in my pocket. Broken things can still fly, I told myself, but the lie faltered when Sophia's voice crackled through the car speakers. "Mommy, when will you and Daddy stop being sad?" Daniel was cooking when I walked in, spaghetti carbonara, my recipe. The air swam with garlic and regret. I thought we could, he trailed off, waving a wooden spoon like a surrender flag. Steam fogged the window above the sink, obscuring the backyard where Sophia's swing swayed emptily in the downpour. I hung my coat, the damp wool heavy as chainmail. "We're out of Parmesan," I said, and the ordinary words felt like bricks laid between us. That night, I opened my jewelry box, the velvet-lined one from our 5th anniversary. Nestled beside pearl earrings lay the boarding pass ashes I'd saved. I tipped them into an envelope, sealed it, and wrote an address I didn't know. Let the wind decide, I thought. Outside, rain hissed against the pavement, washing the streets clean. Dinner became a theater of half-truths. Daniel slid a plate of carbonara toward me, creamy yolks bleeding into pancetta, a dish he'd once burned for 3 anniversaries straight. "Sophia's teacher called," he said, grating Parmesan over the silence. She drew our family portrait, 4 stick figures holding hands. The cheese dusted his knuckles like ash. 4? My 4 covered. Rain lashed the kitchen window, dog included. He forced a laugh. "She gave him your hair." The pasta congealed. I counted the cracks in our ceramic tile. 11 fractures radiating from where Sophia dropped the gravy boat last Thanksgiving. That day, Daniel had kissed flour from my temple while I mopped. Now, his gaze snagged on his vibrating phone. When he excused himself, "Supply chain emergency," I traced the steam rising from my plate. It smelled of guilt and garlic. Later, washing dishes, I found the receipt. Tucked under his wine glass, 76.50, the Rittenhouse Hotel Lounge. 9,118 p.m. 2 glasses of Barolo. The ink blurred where condensation met paper. Last Thursday, the night he'd claimed overtime inventory. Outside, a siren wailed down Lombard Street. I pressed the wet paper to the window, watched Philadelphia's skyline warp through wine-stained evidence. Work offered no refuge Monday. Mrs. Petrova slammed a forensic audit on my desk. "Follow the scent, Dushka," she rasped. Nicotine-stained finger stabbing at vendor codes. Ghosts leave footprints. The numbers blurred. Vendor 4477, 12K monthly retainer until I cross-referenced the address. A mailbox rental beside Lydia's spin studio. My keyboard grew clammy. When Daniel's extension flashed on my phone, I let it ring into the hollow static of unanswered calls. At Sophia's ballet recital that evening, Daniel arrived late, smelling of antiseptic mint, his tell for lying. Lydia sat 3 rows ahead, sleek ponytail bobbing as she laughed with a silver-haired man. "Daddy," Sophia stage whispered, waving her sequined wand. He waved back, knuckles grazing my shoulder. I flinched. The movement caught Lydia's eye, a flicker of recognition before she turned away, her neck flushed. During intermission, Daniel cornered me near the overflowing trash bin. "We need to discuss custody arrangements." "Parenting time," I corrected, watching Sophia pirouette with a paper crown backstage. "Not custody." His jaw tightened. "My lawyer thinks, does Lydia?" The word slipped out, sharp as shattered ballet glass. His recoil was visceral. Beyond him, a toddler smeared chocolate on a velvet curtain. The air thickened with cheap perfume and unspoken collisions. Driving home, Sophia chattered about arabesques and pliés until sleep claimed her. At a red light, Daniel cleared his throat. The Drake Hotel receipt, streetlights striped his face in amber and shadow. It wasn't just dinner. The light turned green. I accelerated into the wet gleam of Chestnut Street. "I know," silence expanded like a bruise. He fumbled with the radio Springsteen's brilliant disguise, crackled through speakers. "Just talking to the stranger sitting next to you, I switched it off." The click echoed. Tuesday's rain blurred the city into a Monet nightmare. During lunch, I walked to Independence Hall. Tourists huddled under dripping elms, snapping photos of the Liberty Bells replica. A bride in a sodden veil posed on cobblestones, her groom's smile fraying at the edges. H.M. and Epser's RDs. We took Sophia here, I remembered. Daniel had lifted her onto his shoulders to see the cracked bell. "Nothing's perfect, pumpkin," he'd said. "But it's still precious." Now, I touched the cold bronze. Its fracture felt wider. That night, Daniel didn't come home. Sophia's fever spiked, 101.3 F, her breath wheezing like a broken harmonica. I bundled her into the car, her hot water bottle leaking warmth onto my lap. In the ear's fluorescent glare, I filled forms with trembling hands. Primary insurer, Daniel's plan. The pen gouged the paper. At 3 a.m., he burst into the curtained bay, hair wild with rain. "Why didn't you call?" Sophia stirred on the gurney, IV taped to her small hand. "Mommy fixed it," she mumbled. He reached for her, then froze. On his collar, just below the seam, a smudge of vanilla-scented lipstick. Horrible, not my raisin. The heart monitor beeped a steady rebuke. I adjusted Sophia's blanket, my fingers brushing the plastic hospital bracelet. DOB 314, allergies, penicillin, dishonesty. I handled it, I said, meeting his eyes. The admission, "I no longer need you to fix us," hung between us. He sagged against the wall, suddenly older, as the nurse brought discharge papers. Back home, I bathed Sophia in lavender bubbles. Daniel lingered in the doorway. About Lydia, not tonight. The water rippled as Sophia sank deeper, her eyelids fluttering. "She needs sleep," he retreated. I listened to his footsteps fade, downstairs, out the front door, engine growling into the wet dark. In the mirror, my reflection startled me, hollowed eyes, hair escaping its braid. A woman learning to hold fault lines together. I carried Sophia to bed. Her room smelled of vapor rub and innocence. Tucking Mr. Snuffles beneath her chin, I found Daniel's forgotten tie knotted around the bear's neck, a makeshift bandage from their tea party. Gently, I unraveled the silk. Outside, rain whispered against the magnolia tree. Somewhere beyond the storm, a siren mourned. The aftermath settled like concrete in our bones. Daniel moved out the next day, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, the hollow thump of dresser drawers echoing through our suddenly cavernous hallway. Sophia traced the carpet pattern with her toe, Mr. Snuffles clutched to her chest. "Daddy's trip is longer now?" she asked, watching his taillights vanish down the rain-slicked street. I knelt, zipping her jacket against the draft. "Sometimes grown-ups need different houses," I whispered, tasting the inadequacy of language. Her nod was too solemn for 7 years old. Work became my sanctuary. Mrs. Petrova's forensic audit consumed me columns of phantom invoices bleeding into spreadsheets. Late Tuesday, I uncovered the pattern. Vendor 4477 payments coincided with Lydia's spin class schedule. $12K monthly, disguised as consulting fees. When I highlighted the discrepancy, Mrs. Petrova's cigarette-roughened chuckle filled the cubicle. "Krasavica, you carve truth from lies like shashlik from fat." She slid a file across my desk, Daniel's promotion recommendation, signed by Lydia's uncle in finance. The paper felt radioactive. That evening, sorting Sophia's school backpack, I found her family portrait, 4 stick figures, dog included under a crayon sun. Daniel's figure floated near the margin, disconnected from our hands. She'd glued macaroni to my dress. "Mrs. Riley says families change," Sophia murmured, pressing a Band-Aid over Mr. Snuffles' ear. Rain lashed the windows as I taped her drawing to the fridge, right over Daniel's Liberty Bell magnet. Thursday brought the first custody mediation. Daniel's lawyer, a woman with shark-tooth earrings and immaculate manicure, clicked her pen. Weekends and alternate holidays are standard. Across the laminate table, Daniel avoided my gaze, fingers drumming the 76 Rittenhouse Hotel receipt I'd left in his briefcase. The mediator's fluorescent bulb hummed like a trapped fly. "Sophia has asthma," I said, sliding Dr. Ahmed's letter across the table. "Indoor play spaces trigger attacks." Sharktooth smiled. "We'll select venues with medical stations." Afterward, in the courthouse parking garage, Daniel gripped my elbow. His cedar aftershave clashed with the damp concrete smell. "Lydia's pregnant." The words hung between dripping pipes. A car alarm wailed 3 levels down. 12 weeks. My ribs compressed, not from pain, but the sudden, grotesque understanding of hotel receipts and supply chain emergencies. I pulled free. "Does she know you lied about our divorce filing date?" His flinch was my small, bitter victory. Driving home, I detoured past Boathouse Row. Crews sliced through the Schuylkill's iron-gray water, coxswains barking through megaphones. Synchronized suffering, I thought. At a stoplight, Sophia's voice piped from the back seat. "Can we get sushi?" Her tiny rebellion against Daniel's carbonara nostalgia. We ate rainbow rolls at a sticky booth, wasabi burning my sinuses clean. Daddy hates raw fish, she declared, stealing my ginger slice. I pocketed the receipt, $38.20, a talisman against his phantom dinners. Friday night, insomnia drove me to the home office. Daniel's abandoned files gaped like unhealed wounds. Beneath tax returns, I found it. A sonogram image paperclipped to a termination notice from Lydia's spin studio. Viable intrauterine pregnancy, read the technician's notes. The grainy gray oval blurred as rain streaked the window. Outside, a garbage truck beeped. 3 a.m. symphony for the broken-hearted. I fed the sonogram through the shredder, its mechanical teeth whirring like a vengeful insect. Sophia's birthday arrived on a knife edge of April sunshine. Daniel brought a trampoline park voucher, medic on standby. But she clung to my leg. Want the zoo with mommy. His smile cracked. Remember the baby elephants? She shook her head, braids whipping. They sneezed on you. Later, feeding lorikeets, she let nectar drip down her wrist. Daddy smells different now, she confided as a turquoise bird pecked her palm. Like hospitals and sad. That night, bathing away birdseed in syrup, she asked about the baby. Will it be my sister? The question hung in the steam. I soaped her back, counting vertebrae like worry beads. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt, I said, rinsing her hair. But you'll always be my first miracle. She cupped water in her hands, watching it slip through her fingers. Like catching minnows? Sunday, I took Mrs. Petrova's evidence to furor. The conference room smelled of stale coffee and ambition. When I slid the vendor fraud file across the table, the director's wedding band flashed, gold thick as a promise. Mr. Hartley's promotion is under review, he murmured, avoiding my eyes. Down the hall, Daniel's laughter boomed from Lydia's cubicle. I stood, knees trembling not from fear, but the weight of shattered illusions. Review faster, I suggested. The elevator doors closed on his startled face. Walking home, I passed a construction site. Demolition crews gutted a row house lathe and plaster spilling onto the sidewalk like entrails. A workman tossed a cracked picture frame into a dumpster, wedding photo, circa 1990s. The bride's smile beamed through shattered glass. I pocketed a shard, its edge sharp against my thumb. That night, I placed it in Sophia's kaleidoscope. Look, I whispered as she twisted the tube. Fractured light became falling stars. Broken things make new patterns. Spring in Philadelphia arrived like a nervous guest. Daffodils pushing through cracked sidewalks while frost still lingered in shadowed corners. Sophia's kindergarten class planted marigold seeds in recycled milk cartons. Mine's named Captain Sunshine, she announced, dirt smudged on her nose like freckles. I knelt beside her, the damp earth cool through my slacks. Will he grow taller than Daddy? Her question hung between us like unwatered seedlings. Daniel's absence carved new routines. Saturday mornings now meant farmers' markets under the I-95 overpass, Sophia squeezing artisan cheeses, while I calculated unit prices like forensic evidence. One vendor, an ex-Marine with a cauliflower ear, slid me extra goat cheese. Single mom discount, he winked. Sophia tugged my sleeve. Does Daddy know we eat stinky cheese now? The overpass thrummed with traffic overhead, a concrete sky trembling with unseen weight. Work became tectonic. Mrs. Petrova promoted me to lead the fraud investigation, a dagger wrapped in opportunity. My new office overlooked the parking garage where Daniel's Lexus now occupied Lydia's assigned spot. Monday morning, HR summoned me. The director's mahogany desk held a sonogram frame. Lydia's, I realized with glacial calm. Hartley claims the vendor payments were approved retroactively, he said, tapping a file stamped confidential. Can you disprove intent? I opened my tablet, showed him timestamps. Daniel authorizing payments during spin classes. Geolocation pinging Lydia's studio. His digital footprint wears heels, I noted. The sonogram seemed to pulse in the silence. Outside, a delivery truck backfired. 3 sharp cracks like verdicts. Sophia's nightmares shifted from porch monsters to angry bubbles. Dr. Ahmed prescribed art therapy. Wednesday after school, we sat at a sticky table molding clay. Sophia sculpted a lopsided dog, Mr. Snuffle's brave brother. I shaped a vase, thumbs pressing too deep until the base split. Strong things break too, the therapist observed, handing me slip solution. Sophia smeared blue glaze on my wrist. Like when Daddy cried. The custody hearing convened in a walnut-paneled room smelling of lemon oil and dread. Daniel's lawyer cited my workaholic tendencies, exhibiting time logs showing late office hours. Sharktooth's stiletto tapped like a metronome counting my failures. Then Daniel took the stand. When asked about Lydia's pregnancy, he hesitated, that old telltale pause. I slid my phone to my lawyer. "Mr. Hartley," she asked sweetly, "isn't it true you falsified paternity?" The gallery rustled. On screen, a fertility clinic report I'd subpoenaed showing Daniel's low sperm count dated before the affair. Lydia's gasp was audible. Daniel's perjury unraveled faster than a cheap knit. The judge adjourned with Sophia's therapy notes sealed like an indictment. Afterward, in the courthouse bathroom, I found Lydia retching in a stall. Her vanilla perfume clashed with disinfectant. "He swore it was possible," she choked out, mascara bleeding. I passed tissues under the partition, not kindness but archaeology. We were both ruins of his fictions. That night, Sophia drew a new family portrait, just us two and Captain Sunshine under a purple sky. She glued quinoa for stars. "Daddy's house has broken crayons," she confided. Rain streaked the windows as I framed her drawing beside Daniel's Liberty Bell magnet, a fossil in our new history. Sunday brought the first truly warm day. We biked along Schuylkill banks, Sophia's training wheels rattling over boardwalks. Near Boathouse Row, a crew team capsized, oars flailing like distressed insects. Sophia giggled. "They need floaties." Further down, an outdoor yoga class moved through sun salutations. The instructor's voice carried. "Root through your sit bones, grow toward light." A man near the back stumbled out of Warrior II, laughing sheepishly. Tall, dark hair curling at his collar, glasses askew. He caught Sophia's stare and waved. "Beginner's balance," he called. Or, "The universe hates my downward dog." His t-shirt read, "Franklin Institute Robotics Lab." Sophia waved back, whispering, "He's sillier than Daddy." At the water fountain, he refilled Sophia's bottle. "Dr. Ben Carter," he introduced himself, wiping sweat with his forearm. "Professional mat slipper." Up close, his eyes were warm amber, no shadows lurking. Sophia showed him Captain Sunshine's progress photo. "Marigolds," he brightened. "I grow heirloom tomatoes. Battlefield against squirrels daily." Sophia solemnly offered anti-squirrel tactics involving glitter. Later, eating lemon ice from a cart, Sophia asked, "Can Dr. Ben teach me tomatoes?" I watched him pack up his clumsy but deliberate movements. When he tripped over his own sandals, Sophia's laughter bubbled like spring water. "He needs a helmet," she decided. That evening, Daniel called, voice frayed. Lydia lost the baby. The silence pooled between us, thick with ghosts. Sophia played piano scales in the living room, halting but hopeful. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it for the life lost, not his unraveling. He hung up mid-sob. In bed, I opened my laptop. Searched Ben Carter Franklin Institute. His faculty page showed him holding a robotic arm, grinning. Publications on Ethical A. No wedding ring in the photo. Outside, magnolia petals tapped the window like soft knocks. Sophia patted in, clutching Mr. Snuffles. "Captain Sunshine needs a bigger pot," she murmured sleepily. I stroked her hair, fine as corn silk. "We'll repot him tomorrow." She sighed. "Dr. Ben's tomatoes need pots too." Rain began again, gentle now. Somewhere beyond the wet streets, a saxophonist played Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I closed my eyes. Not healed. Not yet. But the cracks no longer felt like wounds, just places where new light could enter. The rhythm of rain softened into May, sunshine thin at first, then pooling in warm patches on the hardwood floor. Sophia repotted Captain Sunshine into a terracotta planter salvaged from the demolition site, her small tongue poking out in concentration. "Dr. Ben says tomatoes like eggshells," she announced, crushing dried fragments into the soil. I watched her, the raw edges of Daniel's phone call. Lydia lost the baby, still vibrating in the air like a snapped wire. Work offered grim satisfaction. Daniel's desk sat empty, cleared by security overnight. A cardboard box of his belongings. Stanford mug, stress ball, framed photo of Sophia at age 3 leaned against the recycling bin. Mrs. Petrova materialized beside me, her gardenia perfume cutting through the stale office air. Fraudulent seeds bear rotten fruit, she rasped, dropping a sealed envelope on my desk. Inside, my promotion letter to senior forensic auditor. The raise was substantial. The weight of it felt like armor. Sophia's request for tomato lessons arrived via crumpled kindergarten note. Please, Mommy, can Dr. Ben tech me? Below her shaky letters, a green scribble labeled tomato. I hesitated. Daniel's warning, strangers, Emma. Echoing from safer times. But Ben Carter's faculty profile glowed on my laptop. Community garden volunteer, robotics outreach for girls, no criminal records. Only risk was hope. Saturday morning found us navigating the university's greenhouse, a humid jungle smelling of damp earth and chlorophyll. Ben waved from behind a jungle of brandywine vines, dirt smeared on his Franklin Institute tee. Reinforcements, he grinned, handing Sophia a tiny trowel. The squirrels breached Sector 7 last night. He pointed to half-eaten green zebras. Sophia gasped, clutching her trowel like a sword. We need glitter bombs. Ben's laughter was warm, uncomplicated. Tried that. They just sparkle while they feast. He showed her how to nestle seedlings into peat pots, his large hands surprisingly gentle. See the roots? They're shy. Don't crowd them. Sophia mimicked his movements, tongue peeking out again. I stood back, sunlight filtering through the glass roof, painting stripes on the concrete floor. A ladybug landed on my sleeve red shell, black spots like tiny voids. Your audit took down Hartley, Ben said later, wiping hands on his jeans. We sat on a bench overlooking the biodome while Sophia hunted spy squirrels with a magnifying glass. You read financial news? Front page of the Inquirer's business section. He adjusted his glasses. Ethics in AI is my field. Fraud patterns fascinate me. His gaze held no pity, only focused curiosity. You rebuilt broken systems. Rebuilt. The word felt foreign. I watched Sophia press her ear to a giant philodendron leaf. I just followed the numbers. Numbers don't lie, he agreed, but people rebuild. He offered a seedling Cherokee purple, or your windowsill. Low maintenance. Unlike squirrels. Rain threatened as we walked back to the car. Sophia clutched her tomato plant, chattering about root systems. Ben jogged ahead to unlock his bike, a vintage Schwinn with mismatched pedals. Forgot my helmet, he admitted, ruffling his hair. Sophia giggled. Told you. That evening, Daniel rang the doorbell. He looked hollowed out, suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot. Sophia hid behind my legs. I brought her bike, he mumbled, gesturing to the pink Schwinn leaning against our azaleas. She left it. There. There. Lydia's apartment. The word hung like a toxic fog. Sophia didn't move. Daniel knelt, voice cracking. Pumpkin, Captain Sunshine has tomatoes now, she interrupted, clutching my thigh. Dr. Ben says squirrels are enemies. Daniel flinched. He handed me a manila envelope divorce papers. Sign when you're ready. His cedar scent had soured, mixed with hospital antiseptic and stale coffee. As he turned, Sophia whispered, Bye, Daddy. Not angry, not sad, just final. Later, tucking her in, she studied her new seedling on the nightstand. Dr. Ben's roots weren't shy, she declared. They were brave. I spent Sunday shredding Daniel's remaining traces, old golf trophies, Penn State memorabilia. In a dusty box, I found our wedding album. The linen cover felt like skin. Page after page of brittle smiles. Daniel feeding me cake, twirling me under fairy lights. Sophia, a mere blueprint in our oblivious joy. On the last page, tucked behind a photo of us toasting with champagne, a sonogram. Our first, at 8 weeks. A gray blur I'd whispered dreams to before the miscarriage. Daniel had written on the back, little seed. Rain drummed the roof as I carried the album to the backyard fire pit. The match hissed, flame licking the little seed inscription first. Embers spiraled upward, carrying the ashes of what we'd buried long before Lydia. Monday, Mrs. Petrova summoned me. Her office overlooked the river. Hartley's plea deal, she said, sliding a document across the desk. Guilty, wire fraud, falsifying records. Recommended sentence, 18 months. The judge's signature was a sharp black slash. The baby, I hesitated. Lost. Mrs. Petrova lit a clove cigarette, defiance in the smoke. Lydia resigned, moved to Pittsburgh. She tapped the plea deal. This is justice, not vengeance. Outside, a barge horn bled into the rain. Justice felt like an empty bowl. After work, Ben texted, "Squirrel update, deployed ultrasonic repellent." Standby. Attached, a photo of Sophia's tomato plant rigged with wires and a tiny solar panel. Sophia shrieked with delight. Dr. Ben's a robot wizard. That night, repotting the Cherokee purple, my fingers brushed soil from its roots. They were brave, pale tendrils reaching through darkness toward something unseen. Sophia slept soundly, no nightmares. On my nightstand, the Franklin Institute robotics catalog lay open. Ben circled a girl's STEM camp. Sophia eligible, he'd scribbled. P.S. Tomatoes need allies. Rain gentled to mist. Through the window, the Liberty Bell magnet glinted on the fridge, a relic. I pried it loose. For a moment, its weight felt like forgiveness. Then I dropped it into the junk drawer. The thunk was quieter than I'd imagined. Summer thickened the air, humid and sweet as overripe peaches. Sophia's tomatoes thrived on the sun-baked windowsill, Cherokee purple leaves unfurling like victory flags against the glass. Ben's squirrel defense system, a solar-powered gizmo blinking red when rodents neared, chirped softly beside my forensic audit files. Like guarding truth from scavengers, I thought. Tracing a vendor code on page 37. Mrs. Petrova's retirement party clogged the office with cheap champagne and cheaper sentiment. To Dushka, who finds wolves in sheep's spreadsheets. She toasted, vodka sloshing over her wristwatch. Her replacement, a crisp Yale grad half her age, eyed my promotion plaque. Impressive Hartley takedown. The subtext hissed, "How long before you turn on me?" I slipped away early, Sophia's science fair project burning a hole in my tote bag. Ben met us at the Franklin Institute's robotics lab, a cathedral of whirring drones and tangled wires smelling of ozone and ambition. Operation Glitter-Free Squirrel Deterrent Phase 2. He announced, handing Sophia safety goggles. His lab coat sleeve rode up, revealing a faded scar like a misplaced semicolon. Sophia pointed to a robotic arm. "Can it pet Mr. Snuffles?" "Better," Ben typed commands. The arm plucked a stress ball shaped like Earth. "It juggles existential dread." Sophia's giggle echoed off concrete walls. While she programmed obstacle courses for a mini rover, Ben showed me his ethics project, detecting financial fraud patterns. Adaptive algorithms, he explained, glasses reflecting scrolling code. They learn from broken systems. On screen, Daniel's embezzlement case flashed as sample 4. I touched the monitor. Cool, impersonal. Does it feel? Only what we teach it to. His gaze held mine. Unlike people. Rain lashed the walk home. Sophia splashed through puddles, clutching her rover's blueprints. Dr. Ben's robot knows 17 jokes. Lightning flickered. I counted seconds until thunder. 1 Mississippi, 2, the old game Daniel taught her. 5 Mississippis. Distant. Safe. Daniel's sentencing hearing convened in a courtroom smelling of lemon polish and stale regret. His orange jumpsuit hung loose, cheekbones sharp as shards. Sharktooth argued for leniency, remorse, Your Honor, but the judge's gaze stayed glacial. When my victim impact statement trembled in my hands, Sophia squeezed my knee. "Like repotting," she whispered. "It's messy, but the roots breathe." I spoke of phantom invoices and jasmine perfume, of a child who drew floating fathers. Daniel's shackles clanked as they led him away, a sound like dropped bolts. Outside, paparazzi swarmed. Ben materialized with an umbrella, steering us to his dented Subaru. "Tomatoes need repotting," he said, and Sophia nodded solemnly. Divorce papers arrived that afternoon. I signed at the kitchen table while Sophia painted terracotta pot streaks of gold for Captain Sunshine's royal armor. The pen scratched finality into paper. Rain blurred the X beside petitioner. Sophia held up her masterpiece. For Dr. Ben's sad tomatoes. The pot wept glitter onto form DSS265. Ben's community garden plot became our sanctuary. Saturday mornings meant battling bindweed while Sophia hunted earthworms. Symbiotic relationships, Ben explained, showing her how beans fix nitrogen for corn. They heal the soil together. His fingers brushed mine, passing trowels, calloused, earth-stained. Sophia thrust a wriggling worm at him. Name him. Algernon, Ben deadpanned. After the squirrel overlord. Lydia's email surfaced Tuesday, subject line, unasked for truths. He lied about the clinic report, she wrote. Made me think you forged it. The baby wasn't his either. Attached, a paternity test naming her spin class manager. I deleted it, the cursor hovering over empty trash. Outside, Ben's ultrasonic repellent chirped. Sophia's Cherokee purples now bore green fruit, hard, hopeful knots against the stem. Mrs. Petrova's farewell gift arrived, a Matryoshka doll painted like an auditor. Nestled inside, smaller dolls labeled fraud examiner, forensic specialist, whistleblower, the tiniest, no larger than a thumbtack, survivor. Sophia lined them up beside her robot blueprints. They fit inside each other, she marveled. Like secrets. Ben invited us to the Institute's family night. Sophia dragged him to a hologram exhibit while I lingered at a neural net display. Your daughter's a natural engineer, a colleague remarked. Ben beamed. She gets it from her mom. The words hung warm in the air-conditioned chill. Later, watching Sophia guide a drone with gesture controls, Ben's shoulder brushed mine. She sees patterns like you do. The drone dipped, scattering light pixels like digital fireflies. Sophia's laugh, clear, unhaunted, echoed in the dark. Driving home, she slept in the back seat. Algernon's jar clutched in her lap. Ben kept the radio off. At a stoplight, streetlights painted his profile in gold. Sophia asked if you'd help build a better squirrel shield, he said quietly. I told her we make a good team. The light changed. Rain began again, soft, insistent. I didn't answer, just reached across the console. His hand found mine, palm rough with soil and solder burns. We didn't speak until my street. Next Saturday, he said as I unbuckled Sophia. The brandywines need harvesting. Inside, I placed Algernon in the compost bin. Set him free tomorrow, Sophia murmured, half asleep. Upstairs, the Matryoshka survivor glinted on my dresser. Through the window, Ben's taillights vanished around the corner. Thunder rumbled, 7 Mississippis away, safe. Harvest day dawned, sticky and bright heat shimmering off the Schuylkill like steam from a kettle. Ben's garden plot buzzed with the industry of late summer, fat brandywine sagging on vines, cucumbers curling like green question marks beneath broad leaves. Sophia plunged ahead, her sun hat askew, hunting Algernon's descendants. The worms are revolting, she announced, brandishing a trowel at upturned soil. Ben handed me a woven basket, his forearm brushing mine. The faded scar, a pale ridge near his elbow, caught the sunlight. War wound from a rogue raspberry cane, he explained, following my gaze. Thorns have better aim than my drones. He knelt, showing Sophia how to test tomato ripeness, gentle thumb pressure at the shoulder, like checking if a secret's ready to be told. I worked beside them, the heat pressing my blouse to my spine. When my fingers grazed a split brandywine, juice bleeding over my knuckles, Ben passed a bandana without comment. The cotton smelled of pine soap and solder. Sophia squeezed between us, her braid dusted with pollen. Algernon's grandma says hi, she reported, depositing an earthworm into Ben's palm. He studied it gravely. Madame Defarge, notorious in the compost rebellion. Laughter came easier now, clean, like washed glass. Until Ben's phone buzzed. A text lit the screen. Drinks later? Poor Lena. His thumb swiped it away, but not before I caught the contact photo, a woman with magenta streaks in her hair, laughing against a server rack. The old reflex sparked, inventory of threats. I plunged my hands into the tomato vines, thorns snagging my sleeve. Lena's my ethics co-chair, Ben said quietly, plucking a sungold. She brews kombucha that could power small cities. He offered the tomato warm, sun sweet. Trust me? Sophia saved me from answering. Dr. Ben, the spy squirrel. She pointed to a flicker in the oak tree. Ben launched into counter-espionage maneuvers, arming her with a water pistol. While they strategized, I examined the text again, his phone left face up on the potting bench. Professional. Brief. No hearts, no winking emojis. The vines rustled, releasing the scent of crushed basil green and sharp as truth. We lunched in the shade of a tool shed, Sophia arranging tomato slices into solar systems on crusty bread. Ben described Lena's disastrous drone wedding proposal, crashed into the cake, buttercream on the motherboard. His phone buzzed again. This time, he showed me the screen before replying, "Harvest duty." Rain check? Lena's response, pics or it didn't happen. See? He angled the camera towards Sophia, who posed with a brandy wine bigger than her face. Evidence for the kombucha queen. The simplicity disarmed me. Daniel had hidden grocery receipts. Afternoon thunderheads brewed as we loaded baskets into Ben's Subaru. Sophia dozed against the window, cheeks smeared with seeds. At a stoplight, Ben hesitated. "There's a faculty thing next Friday, robotics gala. Boring speeches, decent crab cakes." He kept his eyes on the road. "Would you both consider being my non-imaginary plus ones?" Rain began. Fat drops smacking the windshield. Sophia murmured in her sleep. I watched a bicyclist struggle up Pine Street, groceries spilling from torn bags. Rebuilding means leaning into the stumble, I thought. Will there be glitter? Only if we stage a squirrel protest. That night, sorting preserves on the kitchen counter, Sophia's voice piped up. Dr. Ben's roots aren't shy anymore. She held up a mason jar of tomato sauce ruby red and flecked with oregano. They're loud. Mrs. Petrova's first retirement postcard arrived, a blurry photo of Lake Baikal. "Fraud here is fish-stealing bait," she'd scrawled. P.S. Tell the robot boy his ultrasonic thingy works on bears. Mostly. Friday brought the gala. I chose a navy dress practical, with pockets. Ben met us at the Institute's entrance, tie slightly crooked. "You clean up nice," he grinned, adjusting Sophia's sequined headband. The ballroom glittered under holographic projections, neural networks blooming like electric jellyfish over linen-clad tables. Lena waved from a drone display, magenta hair vivid under black lights. The spreadsheet slayer. She hugged me, smelling of ginger and solder. Ben owes me kombucha for stealing his best plus one. Sophia vanished into a robotics petting zoo, then guided me past champagne towers to a quiet balcony. Philadelphia sprawled below, a circuit board of streetlights and shadow. "I wanted you here," he said, leaning on the railing. Rain misted his glasses. "Not just for crab cakes." A server interrupted with canapés. Ben snagged two, fumbling one onto my sleeve. Pâté bloomed on silk. "God, sorry." "Proof you're human," I laughed, dabbing with a napkin. His fingers closed over mine, stilling the motion. The city hummed beneath us, a low, steady frequency. After Daniel, he paused. "I know trust isn't a switch." Fireworks burst over the art museum. Gold starbursts reflected in the river. Inside, Sophia whooped as a drone delivered her cupcake. Ben's thumb traced my wrist. "Your roots are brave too, Emma." The ride home smelled of rain and Sophia's sugar crash. Ben carried her upstairs, Mr. Snuffles dangling from her grip. In the hallway he lingered. "The gala committee loved you. They're recruiting for a financial ethics panel." Lena's idea? Everyone's. He stepped closer. Cedar and ozone, nothing like Daniel's ghosts. "May I?" His kiss was tentative, a question mark against my lips. Rain sheeted the windows. Sophia called out sleepily, "Did the fireworks scare the squirrels?" Ben rested his forehead against mine. "Not even a little." After he left, I found Sophia's gala goodie bag, a Franklin Institute keychain, a robot sticker, and a seedling cup labeled Solanum lycopersicum, Cherokee purples in Ben's blocky print. Tucked beneath it, a business card. Dr. Benjamin Carter. Ethics and Innovation. P.S. Allies needed. Outside, thunder rumbled, 12 Mississippis away, safe. Autumn arrived in a rush of cider-scented wind and flame-colored maples. Sophia's Cherokee purples ripened into dusky orbs, heavy with the weight of summer's labor. Ben arrived Saturday with a crate of empty mason jars. "Operation Squirrel Armistice," he declared, setting up a folding table beneath our backyard maple. We preserved the evidence. Sophia appointed herself chief seed extractor, tongue peeking out as she scooped gelatinous pulp into a colander. Ben's hands, still calloused, still steady, showed her how fermentation bubbles meant success, not failure. "Like mistakes turning useful," he murmured, tightening a lid. I stirred the boiling pot, steam curling around my wrists. The scent of basil and garlic clung to the air, thick as memory. Daniel used to hate the smell of tomatoes cooking. Too acidic, he'd complain, opening windows. Now, the kitchen windows stayed shut against the chill, holding our warmth inside. Mrs. Petrova's second postcard showed a Siberian husky snarling at a frozen lake. Bears here respect ultrasonic devices more than ex-husbands, she'd scribbled. P.S. Buy the robot boy a decent tie. The final divorce decree arrived Tuesday. Not in a lawyer's envelope, but certified mail. Thick, officious. I signed at the kitchen counter while Sophia painted labels. Sophia and Dr. Ben's battlefield victory sauce. The pen felt lighter this time. No tremors, just the soft scratch of an ending made mundane. Outside, wind shook crimson leaves from the maple. One stuck to the window, a bloody handprint against the glass. Ben took us to the university's farmers market Wednesday. Stall after stall glowed with pumpkins, persimmons, apple butter in earthenware crocks. Lena manned the robotics club's honey stand, magenta hair tucked under a bee-embroidered bandana. Heirloom seeds? She pushed a packet toward Sophia. These bite back at squirrels. Like Mommy's spreadsheets. Sophia announced, pocketing the seeds. Lena winked at me. Audit the aphids, darling. Ben bought a jar of wildflower honey for your tea and a twisted loaf of sourdough. As Sophia chased fallen ginkgo leaves, he paused beside a woodworker's stall. For the sauce labels, he said, handing the artisan a sketch. The man carved Sophia's design into a maple stamp, a tomato wearing a tiny crown. Ben pressed it into my palm. The wood felt warm, alive. So her bravery lasts. Friday brought Sophia's first parent-teacher conference without Daniel. Mrs. Riley's classroom smelled of tempera paint and anxiety. She's resilient, the teacher noted, sliding Sophia's science journal across the table. On the cover, How to Save Tomatoes from Squirrels by Sophia Hartley Carter. The hyphen-her edition was drawn with glitter glue. Inside, diagrams of Ben's ultrasonic device shared pages with pressed marigold petals. She redefined family project. Mrs. Riley smiled. That night, rain lashed the house. Sophia slept clutching her new stamp. I sorted through Daniel's last box, sent from the correctional facility. Beneath Penn State sweatshirts, I found it, the Liberty Bell magnet. Taped to the back, a note in his cramped handwriting for Captain Sunshine's pot. It's still Liberty, even if it's cracked. I carried it to the backyard. Rain needled my face as I knelt by Sophia's garden. The magnet sank into the damp soil beside a Cherokee purple stem. Guard the roots, I whispered. Thunder rolled, 15 Mississippis away. Ben called as wind rattled the windows. Emergency summit. The squirrels have allies. His video feed showed raccoons pillaging his compost bin. Sophia giggled sleepily at the screen. We need bigger robots. Or stronger tea, I countered, watching rain blur the city lights. He grew quiet. Emma, the ethics panel offer, it's real. They want your testimony on financial trauma next month. The proposal glowed on my laptop keynote, the human cost of broken trust. I thought of Daniel's empty desk, Lydia's deleted email, the shredded sonogram. Will it help? Yes. No hesitation, and terrify a few embezzlers. I signed digitally, rain streaking the dark window. The screen's blue light reflected my face, no longer hollowed, but focused. Stronger. Sunday dawned brittle and bright. Frost silvered the grass. We met Ben at the community garden for the last harvest. Sophia streaked ahead, her breath puffing white. Ben stood knee-deep in frosted zinnias, holding 2 mugs. Spiced cider, he offered. Anti-squirrel fuel. Our fingers brushed during the handoff. No flinch, just warmth seeping through ceramic. He nodded toward the shed. Inside, beside sacks of mulch, sat Sophia's pink bicycle, now retrofitted with training wheels and a miniature ultrasonic device wired to the handlebars. Algernon's revenge, Ben announced. Sophia shrieked, scrambling onto the seat. It beeps at squirrels? Only the treasonous ones. She pedaled off, laughter scattering starlings from the bare cherry trees. Ben watched her, steam from his cider curling around his smile. She's rewriting the code, isn't she? I sipped my cider cinnamon sharp, apple sweet. We both are. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Seed swap invite, next Saturday. Lena's bringing her killer kombucha. Inside, a hand-drawn map to a suburban greenhouse. At the bottom, Ben's block letters, bring gloves. And hope. As Sophia zigzagged past, beeping furiously at a startled chipmunk, Ben's hand found mine. Not tentative, not questioning, just solid. Real. The frost beneath our feet glittered, fragile and temporary, but his palm against mine? That felt like something meant to last. The greenhouse exhaled warmth as we stepped inside, a jungle of chlorophyll and possibility where winter surrendered to perpetual spring. Rows of seedlings stretched toward glass ceilings, their tender green defiance a rebuke to the frost-bleached world outside. Sophia sprinted ahead, her ultrasonic bike abandoned at the entrance, already beeping indignantly at a squirrel perched on a bag of potting mix. Lena emerged from behind a curtain of hanging begonias, her magenta hair subdued under a practical bandana. Combat horticulturists. She grinned, thrusting mason jars of murky liquid at us. Kombucha reinforcements, ginger turmeric for immunity, blueberry chili for courage. Ben accepted his with mock solemnity. The squirrels won't know what fermented them. The seed swap unfolded across trestle tables, groaning under handwritten labels. Moon and Stars watermelon, Dragon's tongue beans, Mortgage lifter tomatoes. Sophia gravitated toward a wizened woman demonstrating seed-saving techniques, her hands veined as oak roots, cracking open a dried Carolina Reaper pod. Fire needs careful keeping, the woman rasped, pouring crimson seeds into Sophia's cupped palms. Ben leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. That's Dr. Eris Thorne, plant genetics legend. Taught my advisor. I watched Sophia absorb the lesson, her small face intent. Fire needs careful keeping. The phrase resonated, a parallel to the embered rage I'd banked since Daniel's betrayal. Ben's hand brushed my lower back, guiding me toward a display of heirloom grains. For the brave, he murmured, pointing to Turkish purple wheat. Sown in winter, harvests in drought. Lena joined us, swirling her kombucha. Heard you took the ethics panel gig. She nodded approval. Good. Finance bros need their feet held to the fire. Her gaze flicked to Ben. He showed me your Hartley takedown. Surgical. Before I could deflect, Sophia tugged Ben toward a terrarium workshop. We need a jungle for Algernon's cousins. Lena watched them crouch over moss and miniature ferns, her expression softening. He's different with you two. Less, professorly. She plucked a chocolate cosmos bloom, tucking it behind my ear. Don't break him, spreadsheet slayer. The greenhouse hummed, a symphony of dripping irrigation hoses and murmured Latin names. At the seed barter table, I traded Cherokee purple seeds for Grandpa Ott's morning glories, their packet illustrated with a stern Prussian gentleman. Vines climb 8 feet, the swap master warned. They'll devour your trellis. Ben pocketed them. We've handled worse invaders. During the lunch break, we ate beneath a grape arbor sourdough sandwiches with Ben's wildflower honey dripping onto wax paper. Lena dissected drone ethics while Sophia fed crusts to a trio of hopeful sparrows. Your keynote's next Thursday? Ben asked, wiping honey from my thumb with his napkin. The gesture felt domestic, uncomplicated. I cleared my schedule. Front row, with opera glasses. Sophia gasped, pointing upward. A hummingbird hovered near a feeder iridescent throat, pulsing like a living jewel. We froze, collective breath held, as it sipped sugar water. Its wings blurred, a vibration felt more than heard. This, I thought, is what peace sounds like. Dr. Thorne approached afterward, her cane tapping the flagstones. She fixed Sophia with milky blue eyes. You've the look of a seed keeper, child. From her pocket, she produced a velvet pouch. Atropa belladonna, deadly nightshade. Sophia's eyes widened. For poisoning squirrels? Mercy, the old woman corrected. Respect for boundaries. She pressed the pouch into my hand instead. The velvet felt fever warm. Some fires shouldn't be kept, dear. Only contained. Ben stiffened beside me. Dr. Thorne, she knows. The botanist's gaze pinned me, seeing Daniel, the shredded sonogram, the courtroom. Pluck the berry too soon, it kills. Too late? She shrugged. Wasted poison. Her cane clicked away toward the orchid section. The pouch burned in my palm. Outside, sleet needled the greenhouse glass. I excused myself, finding a quiet corner behind towering tomato seedlings. The nightshade berries rolled into my hand, deep purple, deceptively sweet-looking. Contain the fire. I thought of Daniel's sentencing, Lydia's lost baby, the divorce papers signed without tears. With deliberate slowness, I poured the berries into a compost bin marked toxic plants only. They vanished into coffee grounds and wilted lettuce. Ben found me there, his glasses fogged from humidity. Thorns, a Cassandra. Brilliant, but intense. He touched the empty pouch. You okay? Sophia's laughter echoed from the terrarium station, her jungle, now housing 3 earthworms and a surprised-looking beetle. She's naming them after auditors, Lena called. Meet Mrs. Petrova, forensic specialist and whistleblower. Ben's thumb traced my knuckles, the same hand that once trembled holding hotel receipts. Your roots, he said quietly, held. We drove home through twilight sleet. Sophia slept clutching her morning glory seeds, kombucha-stained lips parted. At a stoplight, Ben reached across the console. Not for my hand, but to tuck the Grandpa Ott's packet into my coat pocket. Oh, for spring, he said. They bloom at dawn. That night, tucking Sophia in, I found her science journal open. A new entry, How Deadly Nightshade Saves Good Seeds. Below, a careful drawing of the compost bin. Caption, Fire Graveyard. No squirrels allowed. I kissed her forehead. My brave seed keeper. In the kitchen, I filled a mug with tea-steaming amber liquid sweetened with Ben's wildflower honey. Through the window, sleet silvered the backyard. Where I'd buried Daniel's magnet, frost glinted on the Cherokee Purple's last stubborn fruit. My laptop glowed on the table, the ethics keynote outline waiting. Title, The Botany of Broken Systems, When Roots Reclaim Fire. I sipped my tea. The honey tasted like forgiveness, not for Daniel, but for the woman who'd thought love meant surviving the burn. The Franklin Institute's auditorium hummed like a live circuit-polished chrome, tiered seating rising into shadow, the faint scent of ozone from holographic projectors. Backstage, Lena adjusted my lapel mic, her magenta hair vivid against the stark lighting. Remember, she whispered, if the finance trolls yawn, I'll deploy rogue cupcake drones. Her fingers trembled slightly. Ben stood nearby holding Sophia's hand. He dressed her in a tiny blazer over her tomato defender tee. Mommy's gonna make numbers roar, he told her, smoothing her braid. Sophia clutched her science journal open to the deadly nightshade entry. The stage manager's voice crackled in my earpiece. Keynote in 2 minutes, Dr. D. Hartley, not Mrs. Doctor, the correction stung. A phantom limb of the identity Daniel had eroded. Beyond the heavy curtain, 300 financiers murmured, a sea of tailored suits and skeptical glances. My opening slide glowed on the monitor, The Botany of Broken Systems, When Roots Reclaim Fire. Below it, a microscopic cross-section of tomato root hairs I'd photographed in Ben's lab, frail, determined, pushing through compacted soil. Ready? Ben's hand brushed my shoulder. His tie, Mrs. Petrova approved, bore a subtle DNA helix pattern. I stepped into the spotlight. Silence descended, heavy as loam. The podium felt cold. I gripped its edges, knuckles whitening, and began not with spreadsheets but with soil. Fraudulent systems mimic invasive species, I stated. The screen shifted to a time-lapse of bindweed strangling bean vines. They deplete trust. Poison collaboration. But resilience, click. Sophia's Cherokee Purple seedling, frostbitten yet fruiting. Resilience is cultivated in the dark. A man in the front row checked his watch. I locked onto his face, early 40s. A wedding band gleaming under stage lights. Daniel's demographic. Financial betrayal is fractal, I continued. Images flashed, vendor 4477 invoices, Daniel's geolocation pings at Lydia's studio, the shredded sonogram dissolving into pixelated ash. The large crime lives in the small deceptions. The harmless hotel receipt. The forgotten appointment. The watch checkers stilled. I spoke of phantom invoices as uprooted seedlings. Of liquidity as stolen rain. My voice found its rhythm. Not the trembling uncertainty of the courtroom, but the precision of Mrs. Petrova dissecting a balance sheet. Then, the pivot. Recovery isn't eradication. The screen filled with Dr. Thorne's compost bin toxic plants only. It's containment, transformation. I held up Sophia's journal, open to her nightshade drawing. Poison becomes nourishment when buried deep enough. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. From the wings, Sophia's whisper carried, "That's my graveyard." A chuckle bloomed in the back rows. I shared the paternity report, not as vengeance, but as data. False growth must be pruned, I said, the slide showing Daniel's falsified fertility records dissolving into Ben's ultrasonic squirrel shield. Or it chokes everything real. The watch checker leaned forward, elbows on knees. Near the end, I faltered. The final slide, Sophia's family portrait, the new one, with just us and Captain Sunshine under quinoa stars. Rebuilding, my throat tightened. The silence stretched, thin as ice. Then, a soft beep from the wings. Sophia had activated her bike's ultrasonic remote. The sound, absurd, defiant, shattered the tension. Laughter erupted. Grateful, unpolished. I found my closing. Ethical systems aren't sterile. They're gardens. They need vigilant tending. Click. The hummingbird at Dr. Thorne's feeder, wings a blur. And the courage to shelter fragile, hungry things. Applause began polite at first, then swelling. The watch checkers stood. Others followed. Sophia broke free from Ben, darting on stage to hug my legs. Her sequined headband dug into my thigh. Ben joined us, his hand warm at the small of my back. Backstage, Lena thrust kombucha at me. "You made actuarial tables weep, darling." The watch checker approached, extending a card. "Marcus Reed, Sec Enforcement. Your root hair analogy, we'd like to discuss applying it to cryptocurrency oversight." Ben fielded questions while I signed programs. One woman gripped my hand, eyes damp. My husband, the receipts, were in his golf bag. I squeezed back. "Plant something poisonous," I murmured. "Then compost it." Driving home, Sophia slept against her booster seat, the science journal open on her lap. Ben kept the radio off. Rain blurred the city into streaks of gold and shadow. "Thorne was right," I said finally. "Some fires shouldn't be kept." Ben signaled a turn onto our street. "You contained yours." Made it light. The house welcomed us, warm, smelling of simmering tomato sauce. On the kitchen counter, a thermos waited beside a note, for the keynote warrior. "Ginger turmeric. Lena P.S. Squirrels plotting counterattack. Standby." Ben poured steaming tea into mugs. Sophia stirred, blinking. Did we win? Outside, rain silvered the garden. The security light caught the last Cherokee purple, a dusky jewel glistening on frost-bitten vines. "We're winning," I said, clinking my mug against Ben's. He stayed until Sophia was tucked in, Mr. Snuffles guarding her nightshade journal. At the door, he hesitated. Rain dripped from the eaves. "Seed swap Saturday," he reminded me. "Lena's bringing wasabi kale." "Kale?" I feigned horror. "That's an act of war." His laughter was a warm rumble. Then, quiet Emma, about the front row, you forgot opera glasses. Worse. He stepped closer. Cedar, solder, and wet wool. I forgot to breathe. His kiss was deeper this time, rooted, deliberate. Not a question, a declaration. Rain drummed the porch roof. When we parted, his glasses were fogged. Sophia's voice floated downstairs. "Mommy, is the graveyard safe?" Ben rested his forehead against mine. "Tell her," his thumb brushed my cheek. "The fire's contained." I watched his taillights vanish. The thermos warmed my hands. Inside, the ginger turmeric kombucha fizzed, a live thing, ferocious and sweet. Winter deepened its grip, frost etching skeletal ferns on the windows, the backyard garden reduced to brittle stalks in memory. Inside, warmth pooled around Sophia's microscope on the kitchen table. She hunched over the eyepiece, tongue caught between her teeth, scrutinizing a sliver of Cherokee purple seed. "It's wrinkled," she announced. "Like Grandpa's thumbs." Ben leaned beside her, his shoulder brushing mine as we watched. "Wrinkles mean wisdom," he said, adjusting the focus knob. "See those grooves? They're maps for roots." His knuckle grazed my hand on the table, a deliberate, quiet contact that sent warmth up my wrist. Since the keynote, since the kiss in the rain, a new current hummed between us, tentative but insistent. Sophia's discovery pulled us closer. "Look, Mommy," she shifted the slide. Through the lens, the seed's embryo glowed, a pale, curled cipher holding summer's promise. Ben's breath fogged the eyepiece. Life in hibernation, he murmured. His knee pressed against mine beneath the table. Solid. Anchoring. Later, tucking Sophia into bed, she clutched Mr. Snuffles and frowned. Dr. Ben's not leaving? He's going home, sweetheart. But his toothbrush is in the bathroom. The observation hung in the dark. Innocent, devastating. I smoothed her hair. Sometimes grown-ups keep toothbrushes at friends' houses for emergencies. Like kombucha spills? Exactly. Downstairs, Ben washed dishes at the sink, steam rising around his rolled sleeves. The Liberty Bell magnet dug up from the garden after the thaw sat on the windowsill, its crack filled with dried soil. He'd found it while helping Sophia plant Dr. Thorne's morning glory seeds. It's still Liberty, he'd echoed Daniel's note, even with dirt in the cracks. I dried a plate, our movements falling into rhythm. His hip bumped mine as he passed a dripping glass. Sophia's microscope skills are terrifying, he joked. She gets it from you. Silence stretched, comfortable but charged. He shut off the faucet. Water dripped into the drain. Plink, plink, plink. Emma. He turned, leaning against the counter. Dishwater soaked through his shirt cuff. About the toothbrush. My throat tightened. It's convenient, for early robotic sessions. Convenient, he echoed the word, testing its weight. Outside, wind rattled the bare cherry branches. And if I wanted, inconvenient, he stepped closer. Cedar, soap, and the faint metallic tang of solder. His thumb traced my jawline, a question. I closed my eyes, leaning into the touch. His kiss was slow, deep, a rediscovery. The dish towel slipped from my grip. A floorboard creaked overhead. We froze. Sophia's voice drifted down the stairs. Mommy? Mr. Snuffles needs water. Ben rested his forehead against mine, breathing ragged. Duty calls. I brought the water. Sophia sat up, eyes too bright for sleep. Was Dr. Ben kissing you? The plastic cup trembled in my hand. Yes, like in princess movies, like in real life. She pondered this, stroking the bear's ear. Does that mean he'll sleep here? What, tonight? Why? Because, I tucked the blanket around her, some roots need time to grow deep before they hold up weight. She yawned. Like Grandpa Ott's morning glories? Exactly. Ben waited by the front door, coat on. The porch light haloed his rumpled hair. I should stay. The word surprised us both. Not like that, but the couch pulls out. I gestured to the living room. Sophia worries about raccoons. He studied me, the tremor in my hands, the flush on my neck. Understanding softened his gaze. Raccoon patrol duty. I accept. We unfolded the creaky sofa bed. The sheets smelled of lavender and dust. He toed off his shoes. No snoring promises. Liar. His laughter followed me upstairs. I didn't sleep. At 2 a.m. I crept down. Ben lay on his back, one arm flung over his eyes. Moonlight silvered the Liberty Bell magnet on the sill. I paused, watching his chest rise and fall. Safe. Present. In the kitchen, I made tea. His shadow filled the doorway. Insomnia patrol, guard duty. I offered a mug, he took it, our fingers brushing. We sat at the table, the microscope between us like a confessional. Sophia asked about the toothbrush, I admitted. He winced. I'll move it. Don't. The plea hung raw in the dark. All in the dark. Wait, if we hang to a section, bresses about Shakias, so when, resses people hung raw in the dark, just be patient with us. With me. He reached across the table. Palm up. An offering. Emma Hartley, I have calibrated robots with less care than I'm giving this. I placed my hand in his. Calluses scraped my skin soil and solder. Proof of creation. The keynote, I whispered. When I saw you in the front row, I forgot to hate Daniel. Forgot everything except how to breathe. His thumb stroked my wrist. Breathing's underrated. We talked then not of fraud or squirrels but of small things. His mother's rose garden in Vermont. The first circuit board he ever burned. The way Sophia's eyes lit when a seed split open. Dawn blushed the sky before we noticed. Upstairs, Sophia's door clicked open. She patted down, rubbing her eyes. She took in the scene: Ben in rumpled clothes, me in a robe, empty mugs between us. You fought raccoons? She asked hopefully. Ben scooped her up, truce signed. They want kale rations. She giggled, snuggling against his shoulder. Over her head, his gaze met mine, a silent question. I nodded. Pancakes? He asked her. With honey. While he whisked batter, I pried the Liberty Bell magnet from the sill. The crack felt less like damage now, more like a riverbed waiting for new growth. Sophia watched me press it into a lump of clay. What's that? An anchor, I said. For Grandpa Ott's morning glories. Ben slid a golden pancake onto her plate. Roots need anchors, he agreed. Sunrise bled across the kitchen. For the first time in years, the cracks didn't feel like wounds, just places where the light could enter and stay. Pancake mornings became our new liturgy, flour dusting the counter like first snow, the sizzle of batter hitting buttered iron, Sophia's sticky fingerprints mapping syrup trails across Ben's robotic schematics. He flipped a golden disc, high too high, and it stuck to the ceiling. Sophia's gasp turned to giggles as it peeled loose, landing with a plop on Mr. Snuffles. Breakfast for bears, Ben declared, bowing. I scraped burnt edges from the skillet. My domain now, no longer haunted by Daniel's complaints about charcoal carcinogens. Ben's toothbrush stood sentinel in the bathroom cup, its blue handle leaning companionably against Sophia's princess brush. A domestic truce. Operation Ceiling Pancake Rescue, Ben announced, hoisting Sophia onto his shoulders. She dabbed honey on the offending spot. So the next one sticks happier. Mrs. Petrova called during cleanup. Sek loved your root hair nonsense, she barked, Siberian wind howling behind her. They subpoenaed Hartley's prison emails. Found more phantom vendors. Her voice softened. Plant something fierce this spring, Dushka. Scare the bears. Work was a fortress now, my office overlooking the Schuylkill, Daniel's old cubicle repurposed as a meditation nook. Marcus Reed, the watch checker, forwarded interrogation transcripts. Daniel's words bled across my screen. Lydia wanted designer nursery gear. The vendor fraud was faster than a loan. I minimized the window, focusing instead on Lena's drone ethics proposal. Ben had scribbled in the margin, page 12. What would Sophia's squirrel shield do? After school, Sophia spilled seed packets across the table. Dr. C. Thorns Atropa belladonna among them. For the graveyard, she explained, sorting deadly nightshade from moonflowers. Ben knelt beside her, sketching a raised bed with recycled bricks. We'll build walls, he said, tapping the belladonna packet. So the poison knows its place. His phone buzzed. A calendar alert, custody hearing, Hartley appeal. The screen glowed between us, stark as an ice flow. Sophia traced the mortar lines in his sketch. Is Daddy coming back? Ben stilled. Not to our house, Firefly. Wait, but he might call? I touched her wrist, the pulse fluttering like a sparrow's. He might, but we decide if we answer. The hearing was a closed session. Daniel's lawyer argued, reformed character via grainy prison video link. Sharktooth's stilettos clicked like gun hammers. My client seeks reduced supervision during Sophia's visits. The judge, a woman with steel gray braids coiled tight as cable, peered over her glasses. Supervision stands. Next review, 6 months. Outside the courthouse, sleet needled our faces. Ben wrapped his scarf around Sophia, tucking the ends with engineer's precision. Hot chocolate summit? He proposed. Extra marshmallows for bravery. At the cafe, Sophia dripped cocoa on her deadly nightshade journal. Ben wiped it gently. Remember Dr. Thorne's compost? How poison turns safe. Sophia nodded. Like Daddy's lies in the graveyard? Yes. His gaze met mine over her head, a silent vow. We'll compost this too. Later, tiling the bathroom floor, a leak had warped the linoleum. Ben's hands brushed mine as we laid adhesive. The appeal, it stirred things up, he said, grout smudging his temple. I pressed a tile, cool, square, immutable. Daniel's like termites. We rebuild stronger. He caught my wrist. Not we. You. His thumb traced the scar where my wedding band once dug too tight. I'm just the guy with the level. Sophia appeared in the doorway, Algernon E., writhing in her cupped hands. The worm needs a graveyard name. Ben released me, reaching for the grout float. Madam Prosecutor, he suggested. For eating bad soil. That night, Sophia's nightmare returned, whimpers about angry bubbles in her chest. Ben reached her first, gathering her against his Franklin Institute hoodie. Bubbles are just trapped breath, he murmured, rocking her. Blow them out, like this. His exhale fluttered her bangs. She mimicked him, shaky at first, then deep gulps of air. See? Prison break. I watched from the shadows, throat tight. Daniel used to shut her door, she'll learn self-soothing. Ben carried her back to bed, tucking Mr. Snuffles under her chin. Guard the bubbles, he whispered. In the hallway, his palm settled on my lower back, steadying, not claiming. You okay? The Liberty Bell magnet, now embedded in clay with Grandpa Ott's morning glory seeds, sat on the windowsill. Frost feathered the glass behind it. I never thanked you, I said. For staying that first night. He touched the clay anchor. Best raccoon patrol duty of my life. Sunday, we broke ground for the poison garden. Ben hauled bricks while Sophia mixed compost doctor. Thorn's belladonna seed solemnly buried beneath a marker stone. Madam Prosecutor, eater of lies. Lena arrived with kale seedlings and a drone. For aerial surveillance, she winked, launching it over the fence. Ben's hand found mine as we tamped soil around nightshade roots. His knuckles were scraped, grout still under his nails. Sophia pressed a worm into the dirt. Now grow brave, she commanded. That evening, the SEC offer arrived. Consultant, Financial Ecosystem Restoration. Salary, triple my audit role. I stared at the zeros, Sophia's bathwater splashing down the hall. Ben read over my shoulder, his chin grazing my temple. They want you to heal broken systems. Can I? He turned me, his palm warm on my cheek. You healed us. Outside, the drone hummed, a sentinel blinking red against the twilight. Safe. The poison garden breathed, a contained wilderness behind brick walls where Atropa belladonna unfurled velvety leaves like forbidden flags. Sophia patrolled its borders daily, plastic magnifying glass scrutinizing every sprout. Madam Prosecutor ate 3 lies today. She'd announce, dropping pebbles onto the marker stone. Ben's drone hovered overhead, a mechanical dragonfly mapping growth patterns. Daniel's first supervised visit loomed like a thunderhead. The family center's waiting room reeked of industrial lemon cleaner and suppressed tears. Sophia clutched Mr. Snuffles, knees bouncing. Will Daddy smell like hospitals? Probably, Ben said, adjusting her headband. He'd insisted on coming co-pilot for turbulence. His knee pressed against mine, a steady current beneath the vinyl couch's squeak. Daniel entered in Shackle's orange jumpsuit swallowing his frame, guards flanking him. His eyes darted to Ben, then narrowed. New babysitter, Dr. Ben builds robots, Sophia stated, edging closer to me. He made Madam Prosecutor. The supervisor, a woman with tired eyes and a choose kindness pin, led them to the playroom. Through one-way glass, we watched. Sophia showed Daniel her nightshade journal. He flipped pages, jaw tightening. Poison's dangerous pumpkin. So are lies, she retorted, reclaiming the book. Daniel reached for her braid. She flinched. A tiny motion, but Ben's hand clamped over mine. Breathe, he murmured. Later, over lukewarm vending machine coffee, the supervisor debriefed. No overt hostility. She declined physical contact twice. Her pen tapped the report. He asked about your robot friend. Ben stiffened. I'm not, I know. I know. But I know. The supervisor's smile was weary. But inmates grasp at narratives. Be prepared. Rain sheeted the drive home. Sophia slept. Tear tracks dried on her cheeks. All open. Ben navigated flooded streets, knuckles white on the wheel. He'll weaponize me, he finally said. Turn me into the villain who stole his family. I touched his wrist. Sophia knows thieves. The SEC contract arrived that night. Thick vellum paper smelling of bureaucracy and ambition. Consultant, Financial Ecosystem Restoration. Salary, $214,000. I set it beside Sophia's macaroni art portrait of Ben captioned Robot Whisperer. Ben whistled. That's life-changing. Is it? I traced Sophia's glue gun signature. It means travel, longer hours. He removed his glasses, polishing them on his shirt. And, Madam Prosecutor needs tending. His chuckle warmed the kitchen. So, delegate, hire a gardener. Not for the garden. I met his gaze. For us. He stilled. Emma, Sophia patted in, rubbing her eyes. I dreamed Daddy turned into bindweed. She climbed onto Ben's lap, her head fitting perfectly under his chin. You chopped him with lasers. Ben's arms closed around her. Bindweed's resilient, he murmured into her hair. But so are we. I signed the contract at dawn, bold strokes beneath Emma Hartley, financial botanist. Ben made blueberry pancakes shaped like root systems. For the deep divers, he toasted with maple syrup. Lena arrived as rain cleared, lugging a crate. Gear for operation, poison garden surveillance. Inside, miniature soil sensors, weather monitors, and a drone dock disguised as a birdhouse. Ben coded the A. It screams if nightshade berries go missing. We installed it while Sophia directed. Higher, left. Madam Prosecutor wants a view. Ben's ladder wobbled. I steadied its legs, my palms against cold aluminum. His grin flashed down. Still the best anchor. That afternoon, sorting seed packets for spring, I found Daniel's note. The one taped to the Liberty Bell magnet. It's still Liberty even if it's cracked. Sophia's crayon edition now decorated the margin. Cracks room for seeds. Ben's phone buzzed. A prison alert app. Daniel's appeal was denied. Sentence upheld, 24 months. Relief tasted like stolen honey, sweet and faintly treacherous. We celebrated at the community garden. Ben lit a fire pit. Lena passed spiced cider. Sophia roasted marshmallows, whispering secrets to Algernon I. The graveyard's full, she told Ben solemnly. We need more walls. He unfolded blueprints. A greenhouse extension with reinforced glass. For rare poisons, Venus flytraps. Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane? Lena perked up. Can I weaponize it for drone trespassing squirrels? Firelight painted Ben's face as he explained flytrap mechanics. Sophia's head drooped against his shoulder. I tucked a blanket around her, my fingers brushing his neck. He caught my hand, pressing a kiss to my palm, a silent promise in the crackling dark. Later, carrying Sophia to bed, he paused at her doorway. She called me Benefers today. Her superhero name for you? He laid her down, Mr. Snuffles guarding her pillow. I want to be more. The moonlight caught his glasses, hiding his eyes. More what? More than the guy who kills bindweed. He stepped closer. I want inconvenient mornings. Burnt pancakes on the ceiling. Toothbrushes that stay. Outside, the drone's red eye blinked. Steady, vigilant. Madam Prosecutor's leaves rustled against brick. I touched his cheek, the scar like a misplaced semicolon. Then stay. His lips found mine, not a question this time, but a covenant sealed in cider and wood smoke. Sophia murmured in her sleep, rolling toward the wall. Ben rested his forehead against mine. Roots first, he whispered, then wings. December arrived in a whirl of wet snow and cinnamon flakes clinging to barren cherry branches while Sophia's crayon menorah glowed on the windowsill. We'd merged traditions, latkes sizzling beside Ben's Vermont maple syrup, tomato defender stickers adorning blue and silver gift wrap. Daniel's prison letter came certified mail. Thick prison issue paper smelling of bleach and regret. Request for holiday contact, the subject line read. Sophia traced the embossed seal with flour-dusted fingers. Daddy wants to call? Ben lowered the spatula, potato shreds dripping oil. Your call, Firefly. I watched Sophia's brow furrow the same expression she wore diagnosing 6 seedlings. Does he know about Bennifer? He does, I said gently. She slid the letter aside, reaching for a carrot. Tell him, Madam Prosecutor ate his spot. Ben's hand settled on my lower back, a grounding pressure as I drafted the refusal. No contact until therapy compliance. Outside, snow blurred the poison garden's brick walls into soft gray smudges. The SEC orientation required 3 days in DC. Ben drove us to the station, Sophia clutching her backpack of survival gear, nightshade journal, ultrasonic bike remote. On the platform, he pressed a thermos into my hands. Lena's kombucha blueberry chili for courage. Sophia tugged his sleeve. What if Mommy's new office has boring windows? He knelt, zipping her coat. Then you draw tomatoes on them. The train rattled south. Sophia pressed her nose to the glass as industrial outskirts gave way to frozen marshes. Look, broken trees. She meant ice-laden willows, branches snapping under crystalline weight. Like Daniel, I thought, burdened by his own frost. My DC hotel overlooked the Treasury building columns, stern as jail bars. Sophia's first video call showed Ben's chaos. Flower bombs detonated near the ceiling fan, Mr. Snuffles wearing safety goggles. We're upgrading pancake propulsion. He shouted over the blender's whir. Sophia waved a charred spatula. Benifer's a messy superhero. The SEC training was a fortress of flowcharts and trauma-informed protocols. During a break, Marcus Reed gestured to my annotated binder. Hartley's case is our Rosetta Stone. How'd you spot the geolocation pattern? I touched the thermos Ben's kombucha, smuggled into the conference room. Roots seek cracks, so do lies. That night, Sophia woke screaming. The angry bubbles, they're freezing. Through the pixelated screen, Ben soothed her, humming Springsteen's Thunder Road while rubbing circles on her back. His t-shirt was streaked with batter. Breathe into the bubbles, he murmured. Thaw them. Watching them, the hotel room's luxury felt hollow. Power meant nothing without their shared warmth. Our return train was delayed by ice on the tracks. Sophia slept against my shoulder, her breath fogging the window. Daniel's second letter had come. Please reconsider. I miss her laugh. I'd shredded it into the SEC recycling bin. Philadelphia glowed under a fresh snowfall. Ben waited on the platform, dwarfed by Sophia's pink bike, now retrofitted with snow tires and heated handlebars. Algernon's winter revenge, he announced, breath pluming. Sophia launched into his arms. Did Madam Prosecutor freeze? Defied frost? He grinned, nodding at me, like someone else. The house welcomed us, warmth smelling of pine needles and burnt sugar. Ben had draped fairy lights over the poison garden's brick walls, icy nightshade berries glittering like venomous jewels. Lena helped, he admitted. Her drone strung the lights. Christmas morning dawned, hushed and white. Sophia's shriek pierced the quiet. Benifer, look. Beneath the tree, beside robotics kits and seed catalogs, sat a terrarium labeled Sophia's Bubble Sanctuary. Inside, miniature ferns, a quartz cave, and Algernon ivy burrowed in damp soil. Ben's note, for angry bubbles. Bury them here. Watch them grow calm. She pressed her palm to the glass. It's a graveyard for feelings? Why, compost, Ben corrected gently. Ogre for transformation. My gift to him was small, a framed photo from the keynote. Sophia and I flanked him on stage, his arms slung around us. On the mat, roots and wings. Ben's throat worked. Where'd you get this? Lena's stealth drone. I touched the frame. She called it Operation Smile Extraction. He pulled a velvet box from his sock drawer. Not an engagement ring, he said quickly. Inside, 2 brass keys. One for his apartment, one for the robotics lab, for inconvenient mornings, and kombucha emergencies. Sophia slotted hers onto her unicorn keychain immediately. Now we can rescue robots anytime. After dinner, Ben lit the menorah. Sophia's small hand guided his for the first candle. For Madam Prosecutor, she whispered. The flame danced, casting long shadows. Outside, the drone's red eye blinked through falling snow, a mechanical sentinel guarding our fragile peace. Daniel called at 9 p.m. collect, from prison. The phone shrilled like an alarm. Sophia froze, marshmallow halfway to her lips. Ben muted the TV. I lifted the receiver. Yes, static crackled. Merry Christmas, M. Daniel's voice was gravel. Put Sophia on, just for goodbye, Daniel. The click echoed. Sophia uncurled from the couch, depositing her uneaten marshmallow in the terrarium. For the bubbles, she told Algernon Ivy. Ben's hand found mine. No words, just his thumb tracing the SEC consultant ID bracelet on my wrist. Emma Hartley, financial botanist. Later, tucking Sophia in, she whispered, Benifer's keys jingle like Santa's sleigh. I smoothed her quilt, a patchwork of tomato fabrics Ben's mother had mailed. Do they sound like home? Her eyes drifted shut. They sound like not hiding. Downstairs, Ben washed Lotkey pans. I pressed against his back, cheek to his shoulder blade. His heartbeat thudded through cotton steady, alive. Outside, snow buried Daniel's footprints, the poison garden, all the old fractures. The first key turned smoothly in our front door lock. January's freeze locked Philadelphia in glass icicles daggered from row house gutters. The Schuylkill a sluggish gray serpent beneath its ice skin. Inside Ben's cramped robotics lab, warmth hummed from servers and the espresso machine Lena had welded from spare parts. Sophia crouched under a workbench, wiring leads to her snowbike's handlebars. For night raids, she explained, tongue poking out. Squirrels glow when scared. Ben adjusted his microscope, examining a frost-damaged sensor from the poison garden. Madam Prosecutor's sentry froze solid. Needs antifreeze blood. He slid a vial of viscous blue fluid toward me, ethylene glycol mixed with nano-lubricants. SEC approved? Only if the bears sign an end day, I quipped, labeling the vial. His apartment key warmed against my chest beneath my sweater, a brass talisman. The SEC consultancy demanded weekly DC commutes. Each Tuesday, I boarded the 6015 AM Acela, Sophia sleep wrapped in Ben's Franklin Institute hoodie. He'd press a thermos into my hands. Lena's Turbo Kombucha, Cayenne Edition, and kiss Sophia's forehead. Guard the fort, Firefly. Report squirrel movements. One frozen dawn, the train stalled outside Wilmington. Ice sheathed the tracks. Sophia pressed her nose to the fogged window. Look, broken trees. Ice-laden oaks sagged like defeated sentries. My phone buzzed. Ben's photo, our kitchen ceiling, another pancake fossilized near the light fixture. Caption, failed launch. Awaiting forensics. Sophia giggled. Benifer needs a flatter spatula. Marcus Reed's DC briefing felt glacial. Hartley's prison commissary records show unexplained deposits, he stated, sliding a spreadsheet across polished teak. 500 monthly from Sunrise Holdings. I traced the LCA shell registered to Lydia's spin studio landlord, Daniel's hidden lifeline. Outside, snow blurred the Washington Monument into a ghost obelisk. Cut the funding, I advised. Let winter do the rest. Sophia's video call interrupted lunch. Ben's lab was a war zone, circuit boards strewn like casualties. Lena smirking behind a smoking oscilloscope. We may have miniaturized the squirrel deterrent too much, Ben admitted, holding up a singed thumbnail. Sophia insisted on pocket size. It beeped in my lunchbox. Sophia crowed. Scared Principal Evans? That evening, ice still gripped the tracks. Our hotel room overlooked a stalled city. Sophia slept, exhausted by emergency drills. Lena's drone obstacle course via tablet. Daniel called, the prison's automated voice. You have a collect call from. I silenced it. His desperation felt like black ice, invisible, treacherous. Ben texted, Madam Prosecutor's berries survived the freeze. Purple and proud, like someone I know. Attached, a close-up, frost-rimed nightshade fruit glowing under UV light. I saved it as my lock screen. The thaw came sudden and violent, rain-eating snowbanks, the Schuylkill swelling into a churned brown beast. Returning Friday, we found Ben ankle-deep in their flooded basement lab. Sump pump rebellion, he sighed, bailing with a solo cup. Sophia waded in, rescuing floating circuit boards. Algernon V is boat now. Upstairs, chaos reigned. A pipe had burst in our absence. Water stained the living room ceiling, warping floorboards. Ben's couch bed floated on sopping towels. Homeowner's insurance adventure? I asked weakly. He wrung out his shirt. More like baptism by plumbing. We camped at his apartment. A cramped studio smelling of solder and wet dog. Lena's borrowed greyhound, Resistor. Sophia claimed the futon. Ben and I shared an air mattress that sighed like a dying accordion. At 3 a.m., Resistor's cold nose prodded my cheek. See. Ben murmured, half asleep, laser defense, aisle 5. Rain lashed the windows. Sophia's soft snozes mixed with the greyhound's twitching dreams. Ben's hand found mine beneath the shared blanket, calloused palm, steady pulse. The SEC gig, it's stretching you thin, he whispered. I traced the scar on his forearm. Daniel's money trail is frozen, Marcus told me. His thumb stroked my wrist. Let winter bury it. The insurance assessor arrived Monday, a man smelling of stale coffee and cynicism. Old pipes, he declared, poking soggy drywall. Negligible wear and tear clause. He pointed to the pancake fossil. This structural damage? Ben stepped forward, holding Sophia's ultrasonic bike remote. Basement sump failure triggered seismic activity. Pancake was collateral. He pressed a button. The remote emitted a high-frequency whine. The assessor blinked. I'll note unforeseen vibration events. Afterward, Ben nailed tarps over the hole. Sophia handed him tools like a surgical nurse. We need stronger roots, she announced, patting the buckling floorboards. He paused, hammer mid-swing. Smart kid, knows foundations. That night, at his apartment, I spread blueprints over the tiny dinette. What if we merge foundations? I tapped our water-damaged house, then his studio. Knock down walls, build something new. Ben stilled. Rain drummed the fire escape. Emma Hartley, are you proposing a joint architectural venture? Sophia looked up from Resistor's belly rub. With a bigger poison garden? Ben's laugh was rough, hopeful. He pulled a ring box from his toolbox. Not diamonds, but a brass key stamped master. For the rebuild, he said, pressing it into my palm. All doors. All locks. Resistor whined. Sophia covered her eyes. Kissing time? Outside, the rain gentled to mist. Ben's lips met mine, a promise sealed in wet plaster and possibility. The key bit my palm, leaving its imprint, a new map, etched in brass. Demolition began with the tearing out of rotted floorboards, splintered wood screaming under crowbars, dust motes dancing in shafts of March sunlight. Ben swung the sledgehammer, sweat darkening the back of his Franklin Institute tee, where it clung to the scar's pale comma. Each strike against the load-bearing wall between our houses echoed like a heartbeat. Thud. Crumble. Exhale. Sophia supervised from her safety throne a salvaged clawfoot tub filled with pillows, directing Resistor's greyhound nose toward termite trails. Spy squirrels tunneling, she declared, sketching reinforcements in her deadly nightshade journal. Lena's drone buzzed overhead, mapping structural stress points. Walls hollow as Hartley's alibis, she observed, tossing Ben a water bottle. I knelt in the debris field, sorting salvageable bricks for the Poison Garden's expansion. My fingers brushed a fragment of Daniel's Liberty Bell magnet, half melted, fused to a charred joist. Cracks room for seeds, Sophia's crayon mantra whispered from its surface. Ben's shadow fell over me. Found anchor reinforcements, he said, offering a steel I-beam catalog. For the wings. The SEC deposition subpoena arrived at noon, Daniel's final appeal hearing. Marcus Reed's sticky note clung to the summons. Sunrise Holdings LC follow the frost. Ben read it over my shoulder, demolition dust powdering his lashes. He's digging his own grave with frozen spoons. We worked through the rain, Ben welding beams, me scrubbing brick mortar until my knuckles bled. Sophia pressed band-aids onto my scrapes, unicorn prints over broken skin. Like Madam Prosecutor's bandages, she whispered. At dusk, Ben ignited the rented industrial heater, a dragon's roar thawing the space between our worlds. We ate takeout on the subfloor, Sophia tracing blueprints with greasy fingers. Benifer's room needs a trapdoor. The hearing convened via grainy prison video. Daniel's eyes were caverns above the orange jumpsuit. Sunrise Holdings was Lydia's idea, he rasped when Marcus confronted the money trail, for the baby's trust fund. The judge, steel-braided and implacable, leaned into the mic. The child that wasn't yours? Daniel flinched. Sharktooth objected. Sustained. Marcus slid a document toward me, Lydia's sworn affidavit. Daniel Hartley threatened my studio lease if I didn't launder funds. Her signature trembled, vanilla-scented ink on prison-issue paper. I pushed it back. Irrelevant. Daniel's gaze locked onto mine through the screen. A final, desperate tether. I severed it with a blink. Driving home, sleet needled the windshield. Ben gripped my hand. You didn't bury him. No. I watched ice lace the Walt Whitman bridge cables. I let winter do it. Sophia waited on the rebuilt porch resistor, shivering beside her. Madam Prosecutor birthed babies. She dragged us to the poison garden. Under the drone's UV lamp, nightshade berries glistened like obsidian teardrops. Sophia cupped one carefully. They need names. Ben crouched, welding glove outstretched. This one's ice. Yours is thaw, Sophia assigned me. She buried her berry gently beneath the marker stone. This is forgotten. The master key gleamed on its hook, a brass promise. That night, we christened the merged space, Ben's air mattress inflated in the unfinished living room, Sophia's terrarium glowing beside blueprints. Resistor snored at our feet. Ben traced the sex subpoena's creases. He'll get 10 more years. Good. The word tasted clean, like snowmelt. He unrolled a sketch Sophia's trapdoor design leading to a rooftop greenhouse. Or her Venus flytraps. And, he hesitated, a room for us. With a door that locks. I touched the scar on his forearm solder burn over old raspberry thorn. Walls first. Walls, he agreed. We woke to chaos. Overnight, vandals had spray-painted the Poison Garden's bricks, liar whore in crimson letters. Sophia stood frozen in her pajamas, resistor growling at the stench of aerosol. Ben pulled her against his chest, blocking her view. Algernon's cousins did it, he lied smoothly. Squirrel graffiti. Lena arrived with power washers and forensic calm. Hartley's prison gang initiation, she deduced. Photographing a boot print in mud. Pathetic. Her drone lifted, scanning for thermal traces. I dipped a rag in turpentine. The paint fought back, sticky and visceral. Ben worked beside me, scrubbing until horror dissolved into pinkish streaks. Let Sophia redesign this wall, he urged. Mosaics, or battle armor, I finished. We gave Sophia the spray can's non-toxic kaleidoscope colors. She painted over the stain with furious rainbows, resistor's paw prints trailing blue. This is Madam Prosecutor's shield. Ben welded rebar claws to the bricks. For grabbing bad guys. At dusk, we stood back. The wall blazed with Sophia's defiance, a rainbow-striped tomato-wielding laser eyes, nightshade berries like cannonballs. Lena launched her drone, its spotlight baptized the mural in light. Ben's arm slid around my waist. Roots held. Wings next, I whispered. Inside, the master key turned smoothly in the new deadbolt. Click, a sound like bones knitting. Summer heat warped the air above fresh plywood. Our merged roofline, a jagged silhouette against Philadelphia's skyline. Ben straddled the ridge beam, shirtless and sunburned, driving nails into cedar shingles. Each thwack echoed Sophia's hammer blows below as she armored Madam Prosecutor's mural with mirrored tiles. Now it blinds bad guys. She declared, resistor panting in the shade. Lena's drone delivered iced coffees at noon. Hartley's appeal hearing moved up, she said, wiping sweat from her neck. Friday. Marcus needs you. The can sweated in my hand. Daniel's last gasp. A Hail Mary from a locked cell. Ben descended the ladder, sawdust clinging to his scars. Sunrise Holdings? Dead end. Lydia recanted. I handed him the coffee. Marcus says it's procedural noise. He gulped the drink, eyes on Sophia's kaleidoscope wall. Noise can still shatter glass. We worked through the dusk, Ben wiring outlets, me staining window trim the deep green of poison ivy leaves. Sophia bathed resistor in a galvanized tub, singing, Squirrels Beware, to a Springsteen riff. The master key hung from my belt loop, brass warm against my hip. Friday's courtroom felt suffocating air conditioning battling stale resignation. Daniel appeared via screen, thinner, eyes darting like caged birds. Sharktooth argued mitigating circumstances, Lydia's coercion, emotional collapse. The judge's sigh fogged her microphone. Mr. Hartley, your initial plea bargain stipulated no appeals. Daniel leaned forward, shackles clanking. My daughter has a restraining order, the judge finished. She denied the appeal with a gavel tap sharp as a nail gun. Marcus passed me a note. Frost buried it. Outside, July sun hammered the pavement. Ben waited by his truck, Sophia drawing blueprints in the dust on the hood. Benifer needs a moat, she insisted. I handed her the court order appeal denied, stamped in red. She traced the letters. Like Madam Prosecutor's no sign. Ben's calloused palm covered mine on the gearshift. Roots held. Rebuilding became our liturgy. We framed the greenhouse extension, Ben hoisting tempered glass, Sophia directing with laser pointers. For the Venus flytraps. She chanted. Lena welded the support brackets, sparks raining like angry fireflies. At sunset, we christened the space. Sophia buried forgotten berries seed in a terracotta pot. Ben hung UV grow lights. Court adjourned, he whispered. Daniel's final letter arrived Monday, prison stationery folded around a faded zoo ticket stub. "Remember the elephants?" He'd scrawled. Sophia laughed when they sneezed. "Please let her remember me laughing." I burned it in Madam Prosecutor's clay fire pit. Sophia fed the ashes to her compost bin. "Bye, Bubbles," she murmured. That night, thunderstorms rolled in, a cannonade of lightning and groaning timbers. We camped in the unfinished living room, resistor trembling under the air mattress. Sophia slept between us, her hand fisted in Ben's shirt. "Will the roof fly away?" Ben kissed her forehead. I cross-braced it. Hurricane-proof. Lightning flashed, illuminating the master key on the nail by the door. Solid. Anchored. At dawn, the storm cleared. We found the greenhouse intact, flytrap seedlings trembling in their pots. But the poison garden wall, the mirrored tiles, lay shattered, hail smashed into silver shards. Sophia knelt in the wreckage, resistor licking her cheek. "Spy squirrels have hail cannons," she whispered. Ben surveyed the damage, rain dripping off his jaw. Or, he gathered a handful of glass fragments. We make a fortress brighter. We spent Sunday melting glass in Lena's kiln. Cobalt, amber, emerald, pouring molten rivers into sand molds. Sophia pressed her palm into each slab. "So it remembers." By twilight, the wall glowed anew, stained glass panels welded into rebar claws, casting jeweled light over nightshade berries. Lena launched her drone. The camera feed showed our creation, a cathedral of thorns and fractured rainbows. Sophia waved, her shadow a tiny warrior etched in cobalt. Ben's hand found mine, glass dust gritting between our fingers. "Wings next," he said. I unhooked the master key, warm from my skin, and pressed it into his palm. His fingers closed over it. No words, just the click of brass against calluses, a sound like tumblers falling into place. Inside, Sophia taped her final blueprint to the fridge, moat with lasers. Ben traced the crayon lines. "Feasible," he declared. With tactical glitter. Thunder rumbled, 20 Mississippis away, safe. August ripened the city heat shimmering off the stained glass wall, as Madam Prosecutor's mosaic cast fractured rainbows over the poison garden. Inside our rebuilt home, the air hummed with the scent of fresh paint and Lena's victory kombucha brewing in the kitchen. Ben balanced atop a ladder, wiring the last UV grow light in Sophia's rooftop greenhouse. Below, Sophia arranged Venus flytrap seedlings in terrariums labeled "Spy Squirrel Jails." "Housewarming combat check," Weena announced, arriving with a crate of drone-deployable confetti cannons. She nodded at Sophia's lemonade stand, a card table draped with a poison berry punch, harmless. Sign: "Tactical refreshments deployed, General." Ben descended, sweat tracing the solder-burned scar on his shoulder. He caught my hand, pressing a chaste kiss to my knuckles, the master key necklace warm between us. "Ready for the invasion?" Marcus Reed arrived first, clutching a bonsai juniper. "For the financial botanist," he said, placing it beside Sophia's terrariums. "Roots older than Wall Street." Mrs. Riley brought Sophia's science journal framed and glass-covered, her deadly nightshade entry displayed like a manifesto. The party swelled. Lena's robotics students, Ben's colleagues, Mrs. Petrova Skyping from Lake Baikal on a tablet propped beside the punch bowl. "Walls look sturdy, Dushka," she rasped. "Now plant something thorny near the gates." Sophia presided over her punch station, filling cups with violet liquid, blueberry kale smoothie, dyed with beet juice. "Madam Prosecutor approves this message," she intoned, dropping a nightshade berry sealed in resin into each cup. Resistor trailed her, accepting cucumber garnishes with greyhound dignity. Ben pulled me aside, unfolding blueprints on the reclaimed barnwood table. "Final phase," he murmured. The design showed our merged home Hartley Carter residence etched in the corner, with a solarium arcing over the poison garden. For year-round armor building. Lena's drone buzzed overhead, projecting holographic tomatoes onto the stained glass wall. Sophia shrieked with delight. Marcus examined the mosaic. "Defense through beauty," he noted. Sec could use that motto. As dusk bled into indigo, Ben ignited the fire pit. Sparks spiraled toward the greenhouse where Venus flytraps glowed under UV light. Sophia passed out s'mores kits, Algernon's ammo bags. while Lena launched confetti drones that exploded into biodegradable glitter over Madam Prosecutor's domain. Mrs. Petrova's pixelated face softened. You grafted new wood onto old scars, Devachka. It holds. The tablet screen went dark. Silence settled, comfortable, threaded with cricket song. Guests drifted away, leaving constellations of empty cups. Marcus clasped Ben's shoulder. Guard that fortress. We cleared debris under string lights. Sophia fell asleep in the clawfoot tub, resistor curled at her feet. Ben and I sank onto the porch steps, shoulders touching. He traced the master key hanging at my throat, brass warmed by skin and summer. Daniel's transfer came through, I said quietly. Maximum security in Arizona. Ben stilled. Sophia knows? Told her he moved to the desert. Like a cactus, his chuckle vibrated against me. Thorns included, fireflies winked in the poison garden. Inside, Sophia's nightlight painted her room blue, a terrarium glow where Algernon V burrowed. Ben's thumb brushed the scar on my wrist. The SEC offered me a consultancy, he admitted. Fraud Pattern A for their new crypto division. I turned the key between my fingers. Will you take it? Only if you're my co-pilot. His palm covered mine calluses against the brass teeth. We rebuild systems together. Or, not at all. A moss batted against the UV grow light. Ben stood, offering his hand. Walk the perimeter, Captain? We circled the garden past Madam Prosecutor's radiant defiance, under Sophia's greenhouse where flytraps dreamt of trespassers. At the compost bin, I lifted the lid. Forgotten berry seedling had sprouted, a pale, determined tendril curling through coffee grounds. Life in the graveyard, Ben whispered. Back on the porch, he knelt suddenly, resistor's leash dangling from his fist. Not a proposal, something quieter. From his pocket, he drew a folded blueprint. Sophia's Treehouse Fortress, Laser Moat Edition. Our next campaign, he said, pressing it into my hand. If the general approves. Moonlight silvered his scars, the key at my throat, Sophia's window. Inside, she murmured in her sleep. Benifer, deploy the glitter. I touched his cheek. The rasp of stubble, the heat of a day spent building. Walls first, I said. Always. His kiss tasted of bonfire smoke and unpainted futures. Above us, Lena's last drone blinked, a red star winking out as it flew home. Autumn returned crisp as a new ledger page, the poison garden's stained glass wall blazing crimson and gold under October sun. A year had weathered the Hartley Carter residence into something settled, real. Ben's master key hung by the reclaimed oak door, its brass dulled by 1,000 touches. Sophia's Treehouse Fortress laser moat, unrealized, but gloriously turreted, loomed over the backyard, accessible only via rope ladder and whispered passwords. I stood at the kitchen window, watching Ben teach Sophia to split firewood. His hands guided hers on the axe handle, calloused over calloused. Angle into the grain. His voice carried through glass. Let the wood tell you where to break. The log surrendered with a clean crack. Sophia whooped, resistor barking circles around the splinters. The SEC's final commendation lay on the counter, a crystal paperweight etched with guardian of systemic integrity. Marcus's note fluttered beneath it. Roots deepened. Frost didn't return. I traced the engraving. Daniel's parole hearing was tomorrow. I'd declined to attend. Sophia burst in, cheeks apple red, trailing wood smoke and fallen leaves. Benifer says, I'm a natural force. She dumped an armful of kindling into the copper bin. Like hail. Ben followed, brushing bark dust from his flannel. Contained hail, he nodded at the paperweight. Shiny. Like Madam Prosecutor's eyes. Sophia rummaged in the fridge. Can we paint the treehouse poison purple? After leaf raking, Ben bargained. Enemy intelligence reports squirrel bunkers in the maple. Dinner was our sacrament roasted squash from the community garden, Sophia's battle bread, charred sourdough soldiers. Ben's knee pressed mine beneath the table, a silent tether. Sophia chattered about flytraps hibernating, her words weaving a tapestry of ordinary magic. When the phone rang, unknown number, the room stilled. Ben covered my hand. Resistor whined. I let it ring. Later, tucking Sophia in, she studied the treehouse blueprint taped above her bed. Will Daddy call again? Moonlight caught the terrarium where Algernon Vi slept beneath Forgotten Berry's seedling, now a vine curling toward the glass. He might, I said, smoothing her quilt. But we choose if we answer. She hugged Mr. Snuffles, his fur matted from a decade of love. Tell him I'm a natural force. Ben waited on the porch, 2 mugs steaming in his hands. Lena's infamous ginger turmeric kombucha. We sat on the steps, shoulders touching. The poison garden slept belladonna berries like dormant obsidian teardrops under UV security lights. Parole board denied his request, Ben said quietly. Marcus emailed. I sipped the kombucha fire and earth on my tongue. Good. His thumb brushed the wedding band I now wore, a simple platinum band forged from melted lab equipment. No regrets? Wind stirred the maple, raining copper leaves onto Madam Prosecutor's mosaic. Only that I didn't bury the magnet sooner. He laughed, low and warm. Inside, Sophia's nightlight winked out. We walked the perimeter past the compost bin, where forgotten Barry's tendril had pierced the lid, past the treehouse where Sophia's squirrel DEFCON flag fluttered. At the stained glass wall, Ben paused. Lena's installing the solarium next week. Year-round fortifications. I touched a crimson pane, the color of jasmine perfume, of hotel receipts, of all the combustibles we'd composted. It's enough. His hand found mine. It's home. Back inside, he banked the fire. Embers glowed like watchful eyes. I climbed to Sophia's treehouse, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. Taped to the trapdoor, her latest blueprint. Moat lasers, Phase 1, below in careful print for Benifer. Love, natural force. Ben's arms circled my waist as I descended. Phase 1 requires tactical cocoa, he murmured into my hair. We drank it at the kitchen island, Sophia's abandoned battle bread crusts fossilized on a plate. Ben slid the sec paperweight aside. Beneath it lay Daniel's final parole denial letter. I hadn't opened it. Compost? Ben asked softly. I fed it to the fire. Flames licked the envelope, inmate T4477 curling to ash. No, I whispered, watching his demands dissolve. Not even graveyard-worthy. Ben cupped my face. His kiss tasted of cocoa and certainty. No ghosts between us. Only the solid weight of the master key against my chest, the creak of Sophia's floorboards overhead, the embers sighing in the hearth. Upstairs, I checked on Sophia. Moonlight silvered her terrarium, Algernon burrowed deep, forgotten berries vine embracing the glass. On her nightstand, the resin-encased nightshade berry glowed faintly. A relic. A warning, a trophy. Ben's hand settled on my lower back. Roots held, he murmured. Wings next, I whispered back. Outside, the first frost kissed the poison garden. Gentle, glittering, and utterly survivable.